It seems to be that the women come through a lot younger. How do you deal with that mentally?
In terms of that, I think when we were younger, it was just like if you were good enough, you played. I think we have a responsibility with the youngsters to get it right in terms of how much we play them and what responsibility we put on them, but then educating them about the lifestyle now of a footballer, because a female footballing lifestyle is starting to change a little bit.
Hi and welcome to Coaching Session. This episode I'm joined by Crystal Palace assistant coach Remi Allen. Remi, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I want to ask you, going back to 2008, where you first started at Leicester, to where you're at today at 2025, how much has the women's game evolved since then?
It's all new. It's madness, really. I've never really actually reflected and gone that far back, but if I think about my time at Leicester to now, all these opportunities and the career that I've had, that others have had, honestly you would never have thought it was achievable. I mean, when I played for Leicester, I wasn't playing because I thought I could have a career in any capacity in the game. I just loved the game. Yeah, it has evolved so much from obviously being able to play, coaching opportunities, the women's game becoming professional. Like, I would never have seen it happen. So we've come a hell of a long way, but I'm always conscious when I say that there's a massive way to go as well. So it's celebrate how far we've come, but also not just accept that and be grateful for it, as sometimes you are made to feel like. It's actually, come on, let's keep pushing and let's keep evolving the game for coaches, players, females, boys, girls, everybody.
I mean, I've got a niece who plays for Chelsea under 14s, and I'm really involved, and I want to guide her the best way possible. Where do you feel there could still be plenty of improvement, let's say, in terms of the women's game, and what we could do as coaches to help build infrastructure?
Yeah, I think when you see it on TV now, you see the best. So you always see the top clubs and how the infrastructure that they've got. And, you've got players in the WSL and the top level, world-class players earning a brilliant amount of money. I think underneath that, there's still a group of players, coaches, managers that probably, from a financial perspective, aren't where they should be or where they need to be. When I did it, up until I was, I want to say about 25, I always worked another 2 jobs on top of playing what was deemed as a professional contract, and it never was. It was, just written on a paper like that. So the fact now that youngsters have the ability to earn a pro contract, and I know that they've started putting in you have to pay X amount of money for players in the WSL or WSL2, which I think is brilliant, because it's about time that happened. I still think from a coaching analysts, like all the staff behind the scenes, I still think that massively has to improve. And if we do that, we're always going to get the better quality coaches, a better quality analysts, physical performances, and an aid that then helps the players. So then the game evolves, the quality's better, physicality's better, knowledge is better. And then when it is televised and it's not just the top few clubs playing, the standard's even better, and then more people watch it and the game grows and evolves like that.
So for you, what is life like at Crystal Palace? Are you full-time there currently?
Yeah. So we're full-time, we're brilliant. We're now in the Championship. So we've got everything really that we need to go and push on and try and kick on and get ourselves back into the WSL.
What's your role as an assistant coach like? So I know you've spent time as a head coach at Southampton. What's it like now as an assistant coach? Obviously
different, because you don't make the big decisions. You don't sort of have the pressure as well that comes with being a head coach. I'm really fortunate that the coach that I work with, I've played with her for years as well. So we have a great relationship, and she's definitely included me in everything. So it's not very much just like she's the manager and I'm the assistant and we don't sort of interlink. I have a lot of coaching responsibility, clips with individuals, with the teams, with the players. So I do a lot of what I did when I was a head coach, but obviously my name isn't the head coach and I don't front the pressure on a game day or post game day like she sometimes has to. So it's changed ever so slightly, but I still get a lot of the responsibility that I had before, which I love, because I didn't want it. It's hard to go from a head coach to an assistant and you sort of strip away all of that. So she's done a fantastic job at sort of allowing me to still be myself.
Did you always want to be a coach?
Yeah, so when I was at Leicester, actually, my coach was Rianne Skinner, who's obviously the West Ham head coach now. And when I was 16, she was like, "You're going on your level two." She didn't really give me a choice. She was like, "You're going on it." So I went on my level two, and then I coached at the it was Centre of Excellence at the time, what it used to be called. So I coached at sort of under 10s, I think even under 8s at one point there was. And then sort of pretty much every club that I played at, I always worked in the Centre of Excellence or the academy, whatever you want to call it, how it's changed. So I was always coaching as I was playing. And at the start, part of the reason was finances, because it allowed it gave me an extra money to sort of survive. But as I gradually went on, I really started to enjoy it. And I think when I had my England career, that started to fascinate me a little bit of how they work and like game plans, because that was obviously top level. So yeah, from there on, I sort of always had a passion for it. Never believed I'd get to the levels that I've got to now, which I'm extremely grateful for. But yeah, I always kind of, as I was getting older, knew it'd sort of be the path that I wanted to go down.
You actually started, am I right in saying you started as a player assistant, right? Is that correct?
No, I actually, believe it or not, I think my step into coaching was a little bit crazy. So when I was playing for Birmingham, in the international breaks, I would go away with England under 23s, and I was one of the coaches there. And then actually midway through the season with Blues, London City contacted me to take the head coach role on an interim basis till the end of the season. So I sort of retired on the Friday, and rocked up to London City as the head coach on the Saturday. Pretty
Wow.
sure the players thought I was a player coming in. I'm pretty positive of that. So it was sort of a wild experience in terms of how that happened. And I can only think, I've never had to ask the question or had the opportunity to ask the question, sort of why did they ask me? I can only think from, obviously, because I was working with England in the international breaks, but it was like, I'm not stupid. It was a very wild call from them to do that, because they was in a relegation battle as well. And it was very clear, you've got like, I think it was 6 or 8 games, basically get us out of relegation battle. So yeah, it
You
was
did that
crazy.
right. You did that
Yeah,
right.
we did. We did. Do you know what? The players, the staff, they were unbelievable when I came in. They could easily have turned around and gone. I mean, some of the girls in there I'd played with the year before. Some of the girls in there were older than me, but they bought into the way I wanted to do things. They were incredible for the period of time that I was there. And I honestly loved my experience at London City a lot. It was great.
Yeah, because you're sitting there humbly saying how challenging it was, but I read that you won the first 3 games, right?
Yeah, we did. We did all right in the first three. It was, yeah, we did.
Yeah, you did
Yeah,
well. You did well.
thank you.
So did you take your own coaching team with you, or did you go alone?
No. So this is the thing in the women's game, unless you're talking like top level, like your Chelseas, your Arsenals, your Cities, you don't often get to take anybody with you. And obviously, being honest, at the time, I had no one to take. I was a player. So I just went in. I had an unbelievable goalie coach who was there like to support me. He was incredible. And the 21s coach at the time, he came across and he was sort of, if I needed extra bits, he would be around as such. But that's all we had really in the analyst in terms of a tech team. And I'd never met them before. And I knew some of the players, being honest. I hadn't paid attention to London City because I was a player at the time. And I don't even know if I remember playing against them that season. So it was very much like, over the night before, I'm doing my homework, trying to like learn everyone's names and then bits. So yeah, it was, when I reflect back, yeah, crazy to go and do it and crazy to be given the opportunity, but I actually loved it.
How important, actually, you just touched on the names there. How is important do you feel as a manager or as a coach to know the players' names? Do you feel that's something that you must do from day one, or do you feel like players are understanding that, it takes a little time?
I mean, I guess I get the benefit of I have been a player, and I still, it's not been that long that I wasn't. I'll be brutally honest. If a manager came in and didn't know my name, I'd be fuming. So I always, you get it wrong sometimes. Of course, you call people the wrong name in moments. That happens. Like, that's life. But yeah, it was a conscious thing for me, because if you do that and you don't know their names, that in my head, I'm thinking, if I'm a player, they ain't got a clue who I am. That they don't rate me. They're the basics, aren't they? Doing the basics well. And don't get me wrong, at the time it was overwhelming because we had a game on the Sunday as well. So I'm going in on Saturday morning to do match day -1, and we're playing a huge game against a team near the bottom on the Sunday. So there was loads and loads to think about. But the first thing was get the players on the board, ultimately. Because if you haven't got them, you've got nothing.
What was your role? What would your role entail? Were you planning the sessions, delivering the sessions, set pieces? Was you hands on with everything, or were you able to delegate, a little bit to the goalkeeper coaches and the analysis?
Yeah, I mean, there was myself, the goalie coach, the analyst, like I said, and the 21s who was there to support when needed. I think I planned everything, game plan. I'd sit with them, don't get me wrong, it wasn't just my way. We'd sit and go through it together, but game plan stuff, tactical stuff, training sessions, delivering everything. And that's probably the reality of the women's game a lot of the time. Obviously, I think the game's evolving now, which is great. So I remember we played Newcastle this season and was speaking to some of their staff. They brought 4 analysts with them. That's like mental in the women's game. So the teams that are investing, naturally, the teams that are investing the most money are obviously going to have more resources and more staff available. The reality is you're probably usually working with a head coach, an assistant coach, an analyst, a goalie coach. And that's probably roughly in terms of your tech team, what it may look like. You might have interns that come in, and obviously they're at the very start of their journey as well. So you're trying to upskill them to like an intern analyst and stuff like that. And they can do certain things for you. And that's probably the way we get around it in the women's game. However, the top level clubs are having so much more, which is brilliant and definitely where it should be, because the thing that I found in all of my roles so far as a head coach is just at some point you need to be a manager as well, and you need to be around the players and do that side of the job. But when you're trying to do everything else, sometimes that can be really difficult. So I imagine now for sort of your better level clubs and the ones with most investment, their managers are also being able to be managers, not just coaches, not doing everything, which I think in an ideal world is important.
Moving from Birmingham to London, almost overnight, did you bring your family with you? What was the situation there?
No, so I'm actually married. My wife coaches at Notts Forest Women. Well, she's a head coach there, so she definitely weren't coming with me because she had her own season going on. I'll be honest, I didn't know where London City was when I took the job. It happened that quick, and I think it was a good thing really, because I don't like London. I don't like living in London. It wouldn't be where I'd want to be. I was very, very fortunate that I had a friend who lived probably within about 40 minutes of where they were. And because it was really short term, it was literally, I think it was 2 months. And obviously because it was overnight, like I didn't have I was never going to rent anywhere. And we wasn't in a place where the club are going to put you up or put you into hotels or anything. That just wasn't a thing for me anyway. And my friend was like, yeah, no bother, come and stay with me. So I had a really, really quick fix to deal with that. If I hadn't, I would have been in the hotels, but I'd have been paying for the hotels and stuff. So it's a really difficult thing that actually in the women's game, when you're thinking about where a job is, it's very difficult to just uproot your life plus your families, because the financial packages aren't like they are in the men's game. So you can't necessarily do that all the time. So even like with Southampton, it was the same thing. Like obviously my wife's managing anyway, so she has to be in the Midlands because she can't come. But it's kind of one of them where you have to, if you really want to take the opportunity, you just got to sort of go with it.
You mentioned there about Southampton. You joined Southampton after London City. How did you find that experience as head coach now? And they've brought you in, right? So it wasn't a short-term 2-month interim period, as you mentioned with London City. This was now a proper contract. How did you find that?
Yeah, challenging, if I'm being brutally honest. I loved the players, absolutely loved the players. I had a great group of players. My immediate staff that I work with are brilliant as well. I think if I'm being brutally honest, I feel like I probably went in at the wrong time. There was a lot of change going on at the club, and there was a lot of sort of frustration from staff and players that I didn't know was coming until I got in there. I actually got the job. I did the interview when I was on my honeymoon, and I was in Bali at the time. So when I landed, I was pretty much into the role within a couple of days. So there was obviously no time to sort out like where I was going to live. So I was in and out of, well, it was Airbnbs because of just the cost and stuff. So that was really difficult because, again, I didn't know any of the staff. You're now the head coach. Everybody's looking at you to like lead this team. So I'm in and out of hotels every night. And it was really difficult. I mean, nobody thinks they should get sacked, right? That's no one does. I don't believe I should have. I think I should have been given more time. But it is what it is. There's definitely challenges. Managing up was really difficult, and that's part of the job that you learn as you go. And I had very little experience with that. With the girls, with the players, and with the staff, like I loved it. I loved it with them. It was quite strange, really. They interviewed for a manager quite late on, and most of the recruitment was done by the time I'd come in. And not to say they weren't good players, by the way, because I love the players that I had, but it's very hard when it's not necessarily your recruitment. So there'd definitely be things like, if I had my time again, I would challenge and change. But the environment taught me a lot, and I'm actually really glad I went through it. They say, you're not a proper manager until you've been sacked. Yeah, not pleasant at the time. A lot of soul searching afterwards, but I wouldn't change it.
You talked there about managing up. So for the benefit of our listeners who, are aspiring coaches, what is managing up? What does that look like?
So depends on the structure of the club. Sometimes that might mean you have direct access to the board. A lot of the times now in the women's game, we're sort of going in the same direction that the men have gone in with, like head of women's footballs or director of women's football, them sort of things. So for me, it was very much linking in with my head of women's football. And that was like a thing across the week that happened quite regularly. And then, you might have to provide documents or presentations to them so they can present to the board. Very much like if you play on a Sunday, you're in a meeting with them on a Tuesday to go through the game, what went well, what didn't. It can often be an opportunity where you have to sit there and take a few bullets at times. That's part of the game. That's not going to change. Profiling the next game, like, well, what's your game plan? What you're going to do? So there's a lot of stuff that you have to do that the players don't see, the staff don't see, and you have to do all of that alongside actually trying to be a manager. That's the reality of the game now. That isn't going to go away. That isn't going to change. And that was difficult. I found that really, really hard. And like I said, there'd definitely be things that I would do differently or challenge or, be firmer on. But that's part of developing as a head coach. And, that was my first real. I had a head of women's football at London City, but it was very much a different relationship. He was really supportive and just helped me in that short period. At the end of the day, you've got to get results. If you don't get results, you're gone. So yeah, it's a challenge, and it'll be like that whatever club you go to, but part of the game.
Do you have ambitions to do it again? Would you like to be head coach one day again?
Yeah, definitely. I took this role, one, obviously because the manager I know really well, and it was a great opportunity to work with her. I think I wanted to take it as well because being an assistant now, you see it from the other side. You have eyes on things that you never have on as a manager. So for me, it was like, if I can do that, I've done it at international level. If I do that at a club level, if and when I get the opportunity to be a head coach again, actually, I've seen it from all areas, so I can best support my staff. And also, I'm going to know how they feel because I've lived it and I've been through it. But yeah, ultimately for me, I want to be a head coach again.
Do you have any ambition to coach in the men's game, or do you want to stick with the women?
I don't think it'd ever happen anyway. And I just don't think I'd want to put myself through it. More in terms of, do I think I'm capable of doing it? Yeah, I do, because I just believe male or female, like if you've got knowledge, you've got knowledge. It's how you apply it. But I just know you're going to step into the environment. You could even have the buy-in of your players, by the way, because I think you could create that, and probably the buy-in of your staff. But the scrutiny that just comes with it, I'm at a place where I think I have enough of that as a woman anyway. Like, I honestly don't want to put myself. I hope someone has the ability and mental capacity to challenge it one day. I just, right now where I'm at, I'm like, I think we face so many challenges on a daily basis that I'd almost feel like I'm putting myself in the lion's den, and I'm just a little bit like, it's not for me right now.
Okay, so my niece, if I don't ask these questions, will be hunting me down, right? So
yeah.
What, as a coach, what are you looking for in a young up-and-coming female footballer? What are the key attributes that you look for?
I mean, listen, in terms of like playing style and philosophy and all that, that depends on what club you're at. So for instance, if you're with Man City, like your technical, in terms of City, the way they have been, your technical capabilities have to be super high, right? Because they want to possess the ball, they want to dominate the ball, they want to dominate the game like that. In terms of general, for me, if I'm just looking as a coach and you're a kid and you're a youngster coming up and you want to get in and around the first team, you've got to be thirsty to learn. That's the first thing I look at. Like, are they like, oh, I'm already good, I don't really need to be coached? Like, or are they showing initiative to want to get better? Do they want to do more? Do they want to do extras? Are they coming to ask for clips? Do they want to go through things? I think when they're on the pitch, like I'm very hot on, and I know it's really bloody basic, but it doesn't happen sometimes, is like, are you going to work hard? For me, every training session, you should come off and you should be like, I've given me all to play at the weekend. Because I hate it, and I've not picked players based on the fact that they look like they've not been bothered in training. Like I'm very firm on sort of like, you work hard, like you brilliant basics really. So for the youngsters coming up, it's okay to make mistakes. I expect when my kids come up that they won't get things right all the time, and I think for youngsters, it's like the one piece that they're probably not going to have yet is consistency, because that comes with training, playing and experience. So I expect youngsters, in terms of like quality and what they deliver, sometimes it can be really high and you're like, wow, what a player. And other days you're like, what's wrong with them today? But that's also part of their development. But if they have a hunger to learn and they have desire to work hard, that's absolutely something. Obviously, they've got to be good as well. But if they've got that, that's absolutely something that coaches can work with.
Yeah, it's the foundation, right? So what you've mentioned
Yeah.
there, they sound basic and they sound simple, but they're so vitally important. And I can completely relate. Every time that a young player comes up, I'm always encouraging them to do that. I also encourage them to use their voice. Use their voice. Control the controllables, right? Speaking, although you may feel nervous and anxious about it, is one of the easiest and quickest ways to settle in. And I more often than not remember you because I hear you speak. The other question I guess I have for young female players is, my niece played football with the boys until under 13s, until she then signed for Chelsea. That seems to have actually put her in a really good position because she's been challenged to play against boys, right, who are naturally physically slightly stronger at that age.
Yeah.
What do you feel? Do you feel that's a good pathway for young women, or would you encourage them to get as soon as they can into academies and start developing their technical side of the game?
Listen, not one size fits all, but my preference is play with the lads as long as you possibly can. That's what I did. I obviously, when at my age, it was a long time ago, I didn't want to play with the girls. I cried when I had to stop playing with the boys because I just didn't see it as being a thing. We're really, it's great now that we have both opportunities, but what the lads game does give females is a resilience, a mental resilience, toughness, physicality. There's still a technical aspect to the lads game. It's not, do you know what I mean? It's not massively different. And they're some of the attributes that it's really hard to teach. So, once you've been through playing with lads and you've got kicked to shreds week in, week out, and you've dealt with parents on the sideline, calling out that there's a girl playing, all that stuff breeds mental toughness. I often believe it sort of, if I watch like academies or 21s, you can often spot a player, a female, and you can go, they've played with lads, aren't they? And often you're not wrong. So I think that's massive.
It seems to be that the women come through a lot younger. How do you deal with that mentally, the pressures of playing first team football at such a young age?
In terms of that, I think when we were younger, it was just like, if you were good enough, you played. And it didn't deem a pressure. It was just like, you just wanted to get to first team. I think now that's changing in terms of there is a lot more pressure on the youngsters when they come up because it's in the spotlight a lot more. They might be playing, it might be televised, it might be, there might be millions of people watching. I think it's a really delicate balance. I can, think about my experience with Southampton, and we signed in January 3 players under the age of 19 with very little first team experience. Part of my challenge and what I wanted to do was use them at the right time and not make them have to be the the life and soul of the team. Because when I talked earlier, I think the one thing that youngsters probably don't have yet is consistency. And they need to be given the opportunity to be embedded in the right way. I also think there's super talents where that goes out the window, and if they're good enough, they just deal with the pressure. They're world-class players, and you see that very early on. But I still think there's a responsibility around educating them and sort of putting them in a good position. Look at Aguiman in the Euros. Obviously, like, spotlight on her, done unbelievable. But with that comes a lot of pressure and becomes now a lifestyle as well. So in terms of off the pitch, she's going to be spotted and even papped and all them things. So the game's evolved so much. So I think we have a responsibility with the youngsters to get it right in terms of how much we play them and what responsibility we put on them, but then educating them about the lifestyle now of a footballer, because a female footballing lifestyle is starting to change a little bit to what it was definitely when I played.
Thank you so much for your honesty throughout the episode. Remi, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on with us.
No, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode of Coaching Session, please subscribe, like, and drop us a comment below with your thoughts. Thanks for watching.